All right, welcome back to Pioneers and Builders in the city of Jacksonville. I love to call it PB Jax. I'm your host, as always, Randall Thomas. If this is your first time watching, welcome and thank you for joining. If it's your second time or more, welcome back. I have no doubt that after today's episode, you'll watch future episodes because what we have today is a great conversation centered around the city of Jacksonville and the policy and the politics that come with it. And so today, I have the pleasure of speaking with one of the nominees, one of the candidates for the at-large Group 1 seat for City Council, and that is Ms. Moné Holder. Moné, welcome to PB Jax.
Thank you so much, Randall. It's a pleasure.
It is. No, the pleasure is mine. Thank you for doing this. Thank you for being willing to have a broader conversation around why you're running and the campaign itself instead of, the quicker news hits and stuff like that. We want to really expand your why, let people understand who you are as a person, and then help them guide their vote by them being able to vote for the person over the party. Sound fair?
Fair.
All right. So just for some education purposes, I want to get this out of the way. Right now, the special election exists because Terrence Freeman, a Republican candidate, dropped out of his seat. He was the representative for Group 1 in the at-large pool, so that he could run for the Florida House District 12 seat. By doing so, it created a special election, which is taking place Tuesday, August 18th. And this election, since it's an at-large seat, is countywide. Anybody in the county of Duval can vote in this election. The field is Moné, who's in the Democratic Party. We have Deborah Wesley, who's in the Republican Party. And we have Addison Patrick, who's a Libertarian. All three of them have agreed to come on the show. We're very excited to have all of them. For education's sake, if nobody clears 50% of the vote on August 18th, there will be a runoff election on November 3rd where the top two candidates will go head-to-head. After November 3rd, we will have a city council person representing that seat. Ideally, we can wrap up the election by 8/18 because we have a pretty significant vote coming up in November regarding property taxes, and we're going to talk to Moné about that today. So, Moné, now that I've got all that out of the way, was any of that false?
No.
Okay.
Very accurate.
Thank you. Well, let's just start out of the gate. Moné Holder, the candidate. Who are you?
Moné Holder, the candidate for City Council at-large Group 1, is someone who's ready on day one to fight for the working families of Jacksonville. The candidate who believes that everyone in Jacksonville deserves to live in a city that they can afford to be in, a city that they feel safe in, and definitely someone who will be a checks and balance or moral compass on the city council along with my colleagues. That's who Moné the candidate is.
That's a strong candidate.
That is a strong candidate.
Okay. Maybe more importantly, Moné Holder the person. Who is she?
Moné Holder the person grew up in a working class family, originally from Brooklyn, New York, by way of Miami. I've been in Jacksonville for close to 14 years, but really got my start in advocacy and working for the community as a small child through my grandfather, my grandmother as well. My grandfather was the rock of the family, Air Force veteran, union leader, but he taught us a couple things. Loyalty is always important. Standing up for what we believe in, even if it wasn't popular. And also we all had a duty to serve in some capacity, someone or something. So I'm the person or the kid who was always out helping to get petitions signed in our neighborhood for something that we wanted to change, wearing an oversized campaign T-shirt for whatever candidate we thought was going to finally do right by our communities. And I would say I was always doing it a little bit because I wanted ice cream after, but because I believed in the cause. Fast forwarding, attended an HBCU, Florida A&M University, for my undergraduate and graduate degree.
I just want to point out I went to Florida State, so we're Tallahassee twins.
We're Tallahassee twins across the tracks,
yeah.
Yes. A mom of two children. My oldest is 13, my son, and my youngest, my daughter, is 9. Someone who really enjoys policy. So not only just studied it, but worked in the legislature. Someone who took that experience to nonprofit management, working in grassroots organizations, advocating for communities, much like those here in Jacksonville, is where I started. And now just really pushing to continue to make sure that there's fair representation across the entire city. So that's the person I am today.
Okay. We're going to unpack some of that here in a
Of
little bit, and I'm
course.
very excited. Um, this isn't a stretch to say, but the vast majority of the citizens of Jacksonville do not know that this election has taken place on August 18th.
Yes.
So for those who are paying attention, or for those who don't typically pay attention and think that they have a civic duty to vote this time, why should more people be paying attention to it? Why does this election matter?
So all elections matter, of course, but we have a saying that's all politics is local. So this is an opportunity, and we have multiple races on the ballot, from judicial to school board to congressional seats, you name it. But there's the one special city council seat that's on the ballot, and it'll impact uh, how communities are able to thrive, not just in this current year, but for a couple years to come. It also will set the tone for how voters are showing up election day, November, as well as in March when we have our, larger citywide elections. So it is a stake in our future. It's a stake in our community. So no one should sit this one out. No one should sit any election out. But unfortunately, we do see lower turnout when it's not something like a presidential or even a gubernatorial election.
Yep. Or Senate, et cetera.
Correct.
Of course. Okay. Well, we discussed off camera, but obviously would like to discuss it on camera. You originally were going to run for a specific district. Which district was that?
District 12.
Okay. And who currently occupies that seat?
Councilman Randy White.
Okay. So you were going to run in District 12, and this seat opened, and you decided that you wanted to run for this one. Why did you make the switch?
So I live in at-large Group 1, first off, and of course, as well as District 12, so I live in both. This, to me, was an opportunity to join the council and serve sooner rather than later, make an impact now. I know we'll talk about property tax amendment later on, but this is a critical year for our communities. This is also a time where we've seen a lot of unpleasant things happening in the council as far as leadership and as far as how investments are being made or not made in community in lieu of political favors. So for me, it was an opportunity to be a change agent and hit the ground running sooner rather than later. And I was ready for it. So here I am.
Okay. If you win, you will have to defend your seat. Assuming that the election is wrapped up in August, you'll basically have 6 months. Maybe, well, you're going to have a little ramp time. So about 6 months before you're going to have to defend your seat. So let's say that we can put a bow on this thing August 18th and you take the seat. How are you going to balance trying to get your feet planted in council while also understanding that you're going to have to go right back out and campaign for the spot again?
So one of the things that's so great about me is that I'm not a stranger, not only to policy and politics and legislation and moving community along with me as we make good change, but I've also spent the last 3 years on the Jacksonville Planning Commission. This year, currently serving as chair. I name that as significant because I know the inner workings of City Hall. I know how things move. I know the importance of constituent needs, as well as, like I mentioned earlier, moving things forward, moving policy. In my professional background, almost 2 decades with Florida Rising, I've managed multi-million-dollar budgets. So I'm pretty skilled on day one to hit the ground running. So it won't be much of a learning curve for me. And I think the way that I've jumped headfirst into a special election in such a short period of time, I'm positive I can balance both serving on the council and, being a candidate per se again for
Okay.
March.
All right. There's something significant about you being the chair. What is it?
I'm the first Black woman to serve as chair.
You are.
I am.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
How'd that feel?
It felt great. So when I first came on, again, it was a time hitting the ground running. I think maybe my second or third planning commission meeting, the expansion of the city morgue was on the agenda, and that's remains a hot topic issue. So it was a packed house. It was a lot of concern, rightful concern from community, a lot of different interests in the room. And I said to myself, this is where I need to be and this is where I need to keep serving and I need to figure out how to do more of it. So it's very important. I pride myself on being accessible, not
Yep.
only to developers or attorneys or applicants or agents, but to community. I meet with them just the way I meet with anybody else to help explain the process and bring them in. So
I can attest to that. I reached out to you to do this, and you were incredibly accessible. You responded and you set this up, and I understood it took flexibility on both of our parts. But
appreciate you.
if anybody says that you're not accessible, I will call them a liar on your
Thank
behalf.
you.
So when you graduated from Florida A&M, you graduated magna cum laude, excuse me, and you got your degree in political science. You went right after that, started to get your master's degree in public administration, which I think is wonderful, and it obviously sets you up well politically here. But you could have continued the political science route. You could have gone into law. You could have gone into campaign management, but you decided to get into public administration. Why did you go that route? Like, why was that the mechanism?
So there's a two-part answer to that. The first part is I got a full ride scholarship for the Master's in Public Administration program.
That helps.
So that helped. That was a huge decision maker. Our department chair at the time, Dr. David Jackson, who was my African American Studies professor from freshman year and guided me through my work of politics and research and the importance of really being a scholar, guided me into my decision for my next move. But I also wanted to expand what it meant to not just know the science of politics, but how do I apply that in a real world situation? And at that time, I wasn't really sure where I wanted to be. If I wanted to, pursue being a lawyer, if I wanted to just jump into trying to run for elected office, if I wanted to do nonprofit management, if I wanted to work in government somehow as a staffer. So it gave me an opportunity to figure out my next role while also gaining more knowledge and expertise on how to apply it. But I do have a fun fact. Can I share?
Please do.
So when I finished my master's program, I actually did go to law school.
Did you?
I did 1 year at Florida Coastal here at Jacksonville.
Yeah. Unfortunately, Florida Coastal doesn't exist anymore.
It doesn't exist anymore. As you know how they sell people, you can just put that you were a manager at Toys R Us. No one can check it.
Yeah.
Right. But that's not the case. I was actually there. People who I was in class with at Florida Coastal. We're still friends now here in Jacksonville. They're supporting me on this campaign. So it's a full circle moment. But I decided that practicing law, becoming a lawyer wasn't a good fit for me. But I tried it out. So to your point, I was figuring out what my trajectory was while gaining knowledge at the same time.
To be fair, having at least a year of the education will suit you. I mean, you're going to read bills just so to have the understanding of what they say, what they mean.
Absolutely.
The scripture of it all is huge. And I'm glad you shared that because I do believe that that's a point that people should know.
Thank you.
I do want to know when you were at Florida A&M, you got your master's degree from Florida A&M as well. So you went both. What did you learn when you were in school that you did not get from a textbook?
Florida A&M is a HBCU, Black College University. What I learned is the importance of bringing people along with you as you go, on your way. So although it was predominantly Black students there, we were from all different walks of life. No one was the same, from the way we looked, from our backgrounds, what we were studying, what our interests were, but we all stuck together. And when there was any sense of injustice or something that we thought was unfair, or just something that we wanted to change to make the university better or make Tallahassee better or the state better, we figured out, and I didn't know at the time it was called organizing, but we were able to organize ourselves to make it happen, and we just stuck together. So that's something that you would never learn in a textbook. I tell my children, if you don't go Ivy League, you go on FAMU.
All right. I love it. I support both Tallahassee schools.
Yeah.
The time that you were in Tallahassee, you actually got to do a lot of work in the political realm.
Yeah.
Can you summarize that a little bit for us? Just walk us through some of the experience that you had while you were there as a student.
Sure. So my freshman year, I started interning. They had a legislative intern program. So I interned in the Florida legislature and then pretty quickly was hired to work in offices for members of the House and the Senate. I also was a staffer in the House Minority Office as well. So I learned literally everything about session that you can think of, running around the Capitol, writing bills, writing talking points, press releases, preparing our members, because we call them our members of the House or the Senate, for committee meetings or for hearings or their talking points. So I learned all of the inner workings of policy, and I also learned what it looks like when community is not listened to and what it looks like when they are. So it was a very fruitful opportunity for me to get the inner workings of state legislature and policy work.
Is there like a bill or a right or a law or anything that was taking form while you were there that's stuck with you?
Not while I was there. I can't remember it. I don't know if you. I think I'm 20 years out of college now. So I don't remember at the time something I was working on, but I do remember during my time, and I'm still with Florida Rising, but one of the first bills that I was most proud of, well, there's two. There was one where the legislature was attempting to take language assistance away from folks who were going to vote at the polls. So that means if you spoke a different language, or maybe you were you were aging, you were a senior, you needed someone to come help you read or translate. My grandmother always says, "Can you read this for me, baby?" They were trying to make that against the law. So we were really on defense on that bill and was able to rework the language to make it so it's all about access to the ballot box. So that was one of my first pieces of legislation that I worked on at Florida Rising. At the time, it was called New Florida Majority. We've had 2 name changes and a merger. That's another story for another time.
Yeah.
And I would say another one is the dignity for incarcerated women. So I hadn't realized that women who are incarcerated have very limited access to feminine hygiene products, toilet paper, things of that nature. If you don't have the money, you don't get it, right? So things that we just normally buy at the store because we need it monthly, they don't have, right? And that's a whole slew of concerns, whether it's about your dignity, right? How you're walking around amongst people, not being able to care for yourself, as well as health concerns. So pushing to make sure that that was something that's readily accessible. And it was a huge bipartisan effort that I was proud of as well.
That's wonderful. Thank you for sharing that because I didn't know that either. So speaking on the Tallahassee front and being a part of that, I'm not sure from the timeline perspective if in Tallahassee the Democratic Party was in the party minority, but let's just say there was a time in which it was. What did that teach you about getting something done when you didn't have the votes?
Great question. So so we were in the Democrats were in the minority, and it taught me early on that you have to work across the aisle. So I had friends, even amongst my intern crew to my lobbyist crew when I acted as a lobbyist for Florida Rising many years ago, that people are people. You can oftentimes always find a common ground or a common interest. Sometimes you can't. But there are ways that you can work to at least compromise, because at the end of the day, it's usually not about me as a person. It's about the communities that are being impacted. And once you get people to be able to see that, you can sometimes or oftentimes find some leeway. Or there are certain people that you talk to about certain things because they have a deep interest or a personal interest to it. So I learned that it wasn't just all about party affiliation, but it's really about finding, where you had common ground to try to make the state better at the time.
Yeah. Is it true that you went to Geneva?
I did. I did go to Geneva, Switzerland for almost 2 weeks. So I went as part of a delegation that was providing recommendations to the United Nations as it relates to human rights, particularly voting rights in the U.S. So it was the most dynamic experience I could ever imagine. The air in Geneva is just
Crispy.
crispy,
Yeah.
but it was very cool to co-author recommendations that were submitted, provide testimony, to hear my testimony and things just in multiple languages, to be in the room with people from all over the world and have some of those recommendations taken into record was something I'll never forget, and something that I
Mhm.
actually wouldn't mind doing again if I had the opportunity.
I mean, it's once again, I think it flows perfectly into what you're doing, what you're running for. Speaking of what you're doing day to day, your
Mhm.
job, what does a random Tuesday look like?
Tuesday is usually the day where we have our most internal meetings, right?
Okay.
So I am on the executive leadership team for Florida Rising. So we start our morning with our ELT meeting, really talking through organizational development, budgeting, management, staff personnel things, and bigger picture planning, whether it's for electoral season, legislative session, or what issues that we're working on as an organization. And then I move into starting my one on ones with my team. So, as a Chief Advocacy and Political Officer, I oversee our legislative and policy department, our electoral department, our constituency, which includes a Black constituency and Latinx constituency director, and then I feel like I do something else.
Just based on what you said there,
Yeah.
what's the hardest lesson you've learned in management, overseeing all of that stuff?
I don't think it's a hard lesson. I think that it's the right lesson of making sure everyone maintains work-life balance. We are doing hard work and heart work, right? A
Mhm.
lot of it, we deal with people, we deal with communities. It's less about us because we actually get paid to do these things, and it's about the people who may not know where their next paycheck is coming from. So I encourage my team, and I try to lead by example. I'm not always the best at it, but to have work-life balance, take care of yourself, take care of your families. Because we've seen over the course of the years colleagues who are no longer with us because they were just ill and,
Mhm.
just didn't maintain their health in the right way. So I think that was a hard lesson, and it has pushed me to really have people take care of themselves.
Okay. It's a great lesson. Thank you. I it's noteworthy to me to know that you've been quoted in the New York Times, The Economist, Newsweek, The Guardian, and our local paper, the Times Union. Um, it feels like you're given a national platform here, and you're able to bring that locally. Do you think that that bolsters you, or do you think it makes you look like an outsider?
So I think it bolsters me because I have very diverse perspectives. I have a lot that I can bring to the city as far as how well we're doing and where we can still grow. I have lived experiences as just being who I am, that I'm able to connect with people. And even where I haven't lived it myself, I've studied or I've worked alongside people who are experiencing a lot of the issues that citizens in Jacksonville are today. So it helps me remain grounded and relatable in all aspects,
Mm.
and to be able to speak to it in a way that brings both attention, much needed attention for change, or the attention needed for us to get our recognition and accolades for being the world class city that we want to be here in
Okay.
Jacksonville.
What brought you here?
What brought me here? So the year that I spent in Jacksonville for law school, it it left an imprint on me. I liked the city. I knew wasn't necessarily my passion to pursue at the time, but the city of Jacksonville had so much diversity and so much promise, that it always kind of stuck with me as a place that I would want to visit again, or maybe even come back to and have a family. During the time where I was at Florida Rising, which was New Florida Majority at the time, I was working as the lobbyist for the organization. Had gotten another promotion, and traveling back and forth to Tallahassee, but we wanted to grow our Jacksonville office. We had a very small office. And I remembered how much I liked Jacksonville and wanted to come back here and invest my time here and start a family here. So I made it work.
Okay. Um, what is your favorite part of the city? What sings to you?
I would say the parks.
Okay.
Or how,
I think it's a
how
great answer.
yeah, yeah.
Underrated answer.
Underrated answer because, as I mentioned, I have children and they like parks and I
Mm.
like parks. But I think we're moving in the right direction on what our park system should be in a city this size. I think we still have room to grow. We have like the block is beautiful, or we have, other places where even James Weldon Johnson Park. I'm a board member of the Sciences Foundation, and we do our Galaxy Fest down there every year for the last couple years. And it's just amazing to see folks see so much happen right in our downtown area. But I do think, and maybe we'll talk about this later, we can invest in park upgrades across the entire city. So you don't have to necessarily travel outside of the north side or the west side to enjoy a beautiful park.
You are on the Sciences Foundation board. You were also you were the LJ class of 23.
I was.
Correct me if I'm wrong. You're on the Read USA board.
Correct.
Are you the Jack and Jill legislative chair still?
Not anymore.
Okay, but you were.
I was.
Okay.
I was, yes.
You have a lot of civic and public and nonprofit responsibilities.
I do. I'm now the community service co-chair for Jack and Jill. I just, my plate remains full.
Yep. So we'll just throw in city council.
We'll just throw that in there,
right? Is there a specific thing that's been voted on in the last 12 months that you felt so impassioned by that you knew you had to run?
The thing that stuck out to me when I spoke to seniors that I cared about in this city, and they were concerned about how they were going to eat because Meals on Wheels was on the chopping block. And I have one, I call her my political grandmother here in the city, Miss Luella McQueen. She's very heavily involved in the Democratic Party. She's a union leader, but she taught me a lot of what I know about local politics here, but most importantly about community. And she holds me firm. But when she called me and was like, Moné, I'm not sure, how I'm going to eat. And I was like, this is insane. I think we have a duty to protect our seniors. We have a duty to protect our youth at all costs, right? There are other items that come across in the budget that may be negotiable. We may be able to figure some things out, but there are some what I consider protected classes of people. So that was one that really was shocking to me.
Talking about the budget that's coming up, the mayor just presented it.
Yeah.
I'm 99% sure the mayor appointed you to the seat that you had.
Correct.
What is your relationship like with the mayor?
So, Mayor Deegan and I, we have a good relationship. Like you mentioned, she appointed me to the Planning Commission. She trusts me to serve in that role. I'm fortunate that we have a mayor, an administration in which the initiatives that she's been moving are things that I align with, that match with my values. I tell people this all the time. That doesn't mean that even as a planning commissioner, or as a city councilwoman, that I'm going to serve as a rubber stamp for anyone. I'm independent in my thinking, and I know for sure that I am beholden to voters and my constituents. So when things are aligned and it makes sense for the city of Jacksonville, I will stand with her and with my colleagues 100%. But if they don't, I'm always down to speak up for it. She knows that, and she has a great deal of respect for me, and I have her.
She just presented the budget, and I want to walk through a couple of numbers.
Okay.
The budget was $2.026 billion, which was a 1.1% increase over last year. She held the millage flat, and she proposed a $586 million capital plan. I want to start by asking, if you're sworn in August, do you take part in that vote?
I do.
And if you're sworn in November, do you take part in that vote?
I believe so.
Okay. Now, knowing if you're brought in, the current breakdown, it was 14 Republicans to 5 Democrats. Terrence Freeman was a Republican. He's vacating. So right now it's 13-5. If you're elected, it'll be 13-6. So you're going to still be outnumbered. So when it comes to the budget, and knowing that Republican city councilmen have been very vocal about the property tax vote that's coming up, cutting funding in certain areas, including affordable housing. The finance committee's been all over that. So let's say you're sworn in and you know that you're going up against that. How do you support the mayor's budget? And how do you make sure that it gets across in the best way possible to help as many people as possible?
So a couple things. My job, elected or not, even as my role in Florida Rising, is to make sure that the community is educated. the property tax amendment will be on the ballot in November. It's something that folks will have to vote for. So it's making sure they're clear what type of detrimental impacts that we'll face if it is passed, and hoping that they make the most informed decision, and really recognizing that we don't have a plan, right? That's what's so scary about it. So I get asked all the time, well, where would the money come from? And that's the question. We don't know. That's a problem, rather. We don't know. So it's making sure that we're all informed and trying my best when elected to work across the aisle yet again to make sure that we're lifting up constituents, the needs of our people, and making sure that working class families can afford to live here and thrive here. I think that should be bottom line, how we operate as it relates to the budget.
Okay. You've the platform that you've built that I've seen has really been on cost of living and affordable housing. As a city council member, how much sway or impact do you have in that?
So you mentioned the numbers, right? As far as Democratic council members as in relation to Republicans. So it is, I'm a voice. I'm one voice. However, would be an at-large member. So I represent the entire city. My goal would be to work with every single council member, regardless of their district, to understand the impacts and really hope that they listen to their constituents, work with stakeholders in the community, whether it's faith leaders, whether it's nonprofit organizations or grassroots organizations like Florida Rising, to help really sound the alarm, to make sure that we're all working together.
Have you formulated a plan around affordable housing? Do you have anything that you want to bring to your colleagues once you're sworn in?
So not so much a plan as yet. I have advocated for deeper investments and sustainable investments around it in the budget. And I know the mayor in her address the other day mentioned some investments that she will have, that she's proposing, but increase is always a thing. Also, how are we leveraging other businesses and opportunities that are coming into the city to help address some of the places where we have pitfalls or where we have a crises such as homelessness or housing. So leveraging our public dollars with private to make sure that we're covering all bases.
I'm glad you brought up homelessness. Homelessness, the state of Florida banned public camping. And then the city of Jacksonville in the last budget cut a ton of money to go towards that program. I know that we're supposed to, as entrepreneurs and city leaders and government officials, we're supposed to do a lot with a little. But how do you address a problem like that head on when you have the law working against you and you don't have the funds to take care of it?
So one of my priorities, in addition to affordability, is public safety. So when I think about public safety, and I know many people know this, but about 50% of the city's operating budget goes towards public safety. And I, for one, believe that if I call 911, if I need emergency services, I expect them to show up because they're detrimental, they're important. So we definitely should preserve our police and fire. We should make sure we're competitive, remain competitive as far as pensions concerned to attract the best and the brightest. But public safety also means mental health. It also means, how we're investing in infrastructure. It also means healthcare in general. It also means wraparound services for certain populations, because a lot of homelessness has underlying issues. People don't end up on the street always just by chance. They could have a health issue. They could have just they don't have opportunity or access to jobs. So workforce development also ties into that. So I think once we start looking at how we diversify our investments in public safety, we'll be able to address some of the other issues that we're facing here in the city, including homelessness.
You brought up that you're aligned with the public safety portion of the budget. So JSO obviously gets a significant amount of that money. A couple years ago, highly recognized that we were substantially down in murder rate. Last year, we rose. This year, I think we're on the rise again. But another thing that people just have not touched on, surprisingly, is that we are one of the absolute worst cities in the entire country when it comes to traffic and pedestrian fatalities. Out of the gate, do you think that's a public safety issue or do you think that's an infrastructure issue?
I think it's both.
Okay. So how do we address it?
And so back to what I mentioned, public safety for me includes investments in infrastructure. So it is road repairs. It is sidewalks where we don't have them. One of the things I've been hearing as I've talked to people in community across the city, speed bumps, right? How do we get them? What is the process? So first of all, educating people on how to track issues dealing with speed bumps. How do we leverage the resources in the city to get it done? And or what does it take then if a community has to self-resource, or how do we not get to that point? But it is infrastructure, but it does also tie into the safety of people, of even our teenagers. I think about as they're driving on the road. It's important.
Next part of the budget, the stadium. We have a share of 50% of the stadium of the future. I, for one, will tell you I am a fan that the deal got done.
Okay.
So you're not going to hurt my feelings if you aren't, but we'll be agreeable if you are. I know that it's a ton of money. I know it has to go from somewhere. A lot of it was deferred. So with our share being $775 million, 220 of that will be input into the budget this year. We don't have a choice. We have to pay it. Was it a good deal for taxpayers?
You know, Randall, I actually don't have an opinion on that.
Well, good for you. A politician that doesn't have an opinion on everything. That's a good thing. Do you think the stadium's a good deal for us?
I think it could be as an opportunity to bring jobs into our community, resources to the surrounding small businesses. So having an attraction like that in our city always has its plus. So
I agree. Are you
go Jags?
Oh, go Jags. Are you familiar with the East Side Community Benefits Agreement? Okay. There was $40 million that was pledged over time. $4 million is going in this budget. I think that's a great thing. To the best of your knowledge, do you think that money is reaching the East Side itself?
So I've heard a lot of critiques about it for both sides. I think there is or will be a very solid effort to make sure that it does. We have a history in Jacksonville and in many cities, but we're talking about Jacksonville specifically, of promises being made, especially to underserved communities that have not been kept. So we're in a phase now where we're trying to play catch up. And I'm seeing, Mayor Deegan and some other good folks on the council trying to make good on those promises, but it will take time. But I think we have some folks in place who are trying to make a good faith effort to see it through.
You want to know a fun fact about me?
Yeah.
I live in the East Side.
You do? So can I ask you a question? No, this is about me, not you. I was going to say, what do you think?
Well, I love where I live.
Okay.
You don't have to. I'm going to re-sign my lease. It's a non-issue. There's where I live is a community building area.
Okay.
And when we're off camera, I'll tell you all about it.
Okay.
But it is what they are doing there is incredible. And some of the older businesses that have clearly been there for a long time are starting to see an ounce of resurgence because there's more people that are moving into this little area of mine.
Yeah.
So the Azar sausage place that's right there, like they just sell sausage and nobody knew about them. But for so many people, it's walking distance now, like 2 blocks, and you can go get like 3 pounds of sausage. And for me, I'm thinking these guys have been in business for so long. It's just kind of cool to see them reap the benefits. Yeah.
That's awesome.
Yeah, it is. I can't wait to talk to you about that more. There's a lot of things that are kind of taking over our riverfront. Mosh is moving to the riverfront. The Riverfront Plaza Park with the European Street Cafe that's going in. The One Shipyards place. The Jags new office. The Four Seasons. I think they're just past that Culinary Institute's going to go down there. So it looks like the riverfront's starting to take shape. And it's, a lot of the criticism was like, why would you put a jail in like prime property on the river? Looks like that's starting to be addressed a little bit by putting these things on there. There's a lot of big projects taking place. There's cranes in the air. Mayor Deegan gets a lot of credit for that. I give her a lot of credit for that. But are we overlooking the small businesses downtown by putting all this money into the big projects?
I think there's always room to make great investments into small businesses. So I don't necessarily believe that we're overlooking them. I think we just have to make sure that the investments remain balanced.
Okay. Workforce development,
Mm-hmm.
huge issue. We have the JSEB program. They have now 6 workforce development centers. How much responsibility does the city or the city council or the administration bear in making sure that our small businesses are successful, if any?
Yeah, so I've been familiar with JSEB for quite some time, and I've heard really good things, especially in Mayor Deegan's administration, on how they're supporting small businesses and a business community in general. I think every opportunity that comes through the city, or even every time that we prioritize things in our budget, we need to think about how is it expanding workforce development and also
Mm.
creating jobs, not just for uh, a certain class or level of folks, but we want everybody to be able to afford to feed their families and have jobs to do that. So I think we just need to take it very carefully and make sure that we are tapping into expanding across the city and not just at one particular skill set or one particular pay scale.
Yeah. This is a question that's more personal to me, just something I've been thinking about in general. We have a food bank. We talk about getting resources to people who don't have access to food. We have multiple food deserts in Jacksonville. The Blue Zones Project is doing a lot of work to help 5 different zip codes to alleviate that problem. And there's other nonprofits that I've spoken with directly that are, trying to grow food in certain areas and make food accessible, et cetera. However, I can't get over the fact that so many people who can't afford food can't also afford the ability to get to the food. Like if you live somewhere and you need to get downtown or you need to get to the food bank to pick up the food, it's very difficult to do that. So how can we address the affordable living part? How can we address our people that are going hungry to make sure that we're not just providing the food, but we're providing the accessibility to it?
So to get clarification, are you speaking more to like transportation
It could be.
in the
I
city?
mean, what if it, it's hard to funnel bus routes in a city that's 900 square miles.
Yeah.
I understand that. So how can you get somebody who needs food and is relying on the public to help them get the food to them without the answer could be we deliver it to them.
So I was gonna say that. So one of my big like mantras, I would say, is meeting people where they are, right? And that's whether it's communication wise or providing a service. So I think we have enough businesses, nonprofits, people who want to do good in the city, or at least say that they do, to be able to figure out how are we not just keeping things into one central location and expecting people to get there, but how are we branching out? But I think that takes a concerted effort.
Mm.
I know oftentimes when you think about small businesses or you think about different markets or fairs, they're like pop-up shops, right? So this is where we're located, but because we want to tap into a different demographic on another side of town or that maybe not have access, we go to them. So I think building out that model, especially as it relates to food insecurity, would definitely be a way to address that issue.
My last question on policy before we get into the race is what has to be the most polarizing thing I've ever seen in this city is the Navi program. I just have never seen so many strong opinions in both directions. And I've seen Democrats think the way the Republicans do, and I've seen Republicans think the way Democrats do. I just want to get your take on it.
So it's actually something I reached out to some people that I know to get a better understanding of it.
Mhm.
I drive an electric vehicle. I've never been on the Navi. I know it's a way in which we're trying to bring innovation to transportation into the city. I'm not against innovation, but I just don't know enough about it to really have a very strong opinion,
Okay.
to be honest. And I don't want to make anything up.
That's great. Okay. I'll give you a little background if you don't mind.
Okay,
I've
please.
I've interviewed Nat Ford,
Okay.
which I do appreciate him doing that. I've followed closely. I sit on the board with a couple of the Arlington Council with people that work at JTA. I've stayed very close to this. The investment was $65 million for Navi.
Mhm.
The idea was that we would retrofit these vans, and we did 19 of them, and that there would be they would go through a corridor for the first year to build up public trust, which is why they kept a driver in the vehicle.
Yeah.
So that they could fine tune things, and then get it ready for, let's say, a Jags game day or something like that, where you could park in a lot and then get on the Navy thing and they'll take you to the Jags game, so you don't have to park at the stadium, all kinds of things. The thing was, that was a prerequisite to the city of Jacksonville getting the Holon manufacturing site agreement done, which would land us hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of millions of dollars a year in local economic benefit.
Mm-hmm.
The reason that there's a lot of pushback, and I'm not going to ask for your opinion on this at this point, I just want to give you the information so that you can choose to do with it what you want. There's a couple of issues with that. Number one, Navi launched June 30th, 2025. The driver was supposed to come out of the vehicle June 30, 2026. The driver has not come out of the vehicle. From a public perspective, the perception is it's still not ready. Why wouldn't you pull the driver out? Number two, they haven't expanded the route. Number three, the ridership numbers are at an all-time low. Number four, the Holon facility is not here. I'm not saying it's not coming, but there's hiccups. And number five, even if they did create them here, right now the Holon vehicle is not street legal in the United States.
Gotcha.
So you can look at it two ways. If the Holon plant comes here, the Navi thing was the prerequisite to show the world that Jacksonville is a city ready for and capable of innovation.
Mm-hmm.
That's a great thing. On the other hand, some people think we put $65 million in a box and lit it on fire. And that's a very real thing too.
Yeah.
So on council, you're going to be privy to information that I'm not, which means you're probably going to have to form an opinion that I can't. But I do want to make you aware that that is a very hot topic in this city. So, and it'll probably be brought up in the budget. Okay. You want to talk about the race a little bit?
Yes.
Cool. It feels important to me to bring this up.
Okay.
Deborah Wesley, who's the Republican candidate in this race, has raised $91,000 and has a $24,000 PAC. Mm-hmm. She has raised a lot of money.
Yep.
You're behind on the money front. Mm-hmm. Money's not everything, but you knowing what you know, because that's public info, what's your path to victory here?
Yeah. So you're correct. There is a difference there's a gap in the fundraising between the two of us. And, quite frankly, Deborah Wesley is the insider's choice. She's gotten a lot of support from insiders on the city council, Republican members, and has had a head start. Was in the race for at-large Group 1 a lot longer than I have been. So she is the insider's choice. However, the work that I've been doing in the community and for my last 13 years in Jacksonville, but also my almost 2 decades of my entire life, I'm the neighborhood's choice. I'm the people's choice. I have done a tremendous job serving communities, advocating for communities all across Jacksonville. So at the end of the day, this election is not going to be decided by donors. It's going to be decided by voters. So I feel confident that the voters will show out and vote for me.
Okay. You mentioned a couple of times that it's in your campaign language that you weren't going to be the person that you owe political favors to, or that people are going to owe you political favors for, and you're not going to quote unquote play the game. I want to bring this up because there's been a lot of city council people that have said that.
Okay.
And we seem to fall into this trap where they finally get in there and then they have conversations that they didn't think they were going to have before with people that they didn't think they were going to have them with. And sometimes it leads to something.
Yeah.
So how can people know and understand that when you say this, you are rock solid and 10 toes down on it?
Yeah. So I've operated as such in my role in the Planning Commission. That's one. And I have always put transparency and accountability first in all that I do. So I'm well aware that as an elected official, you will not always make everyone happy. There will be decisions that I make that someone will not agree with, but it is my duty and will be my priority to make sure that everyone is informed. They may not understand or agree, but they'll respect the decisions that I've made and will have full confidence that before I do anything, I'm always asking myself what's best for the city of Jacksonville.
Okay. If you win and you're able to put a piece of legislation to the floor, what would be the first thing you would target?
I think it definitely is our park system.
Okay.
I'm serious about
What
that.
would you obviously you want to see more investment in it. What would you like to, if I'm going to give you a magic wand
Uh-huh.
and you get to wave it, what do the parks look like after you're done with them?
So it's upgrades itself, especially aesthetics. Aesthetics are a thing, but it's bringing a more diverse programming to parks across
Mhm.
the city.
Okay.
So things like sport. I'm a sports mom, so I'm big into sports, and I believe that every child should have an opportunity to at least try or play multiple sports. Sports are expensive, but that also is the pathway to building great character, other skills, and prevent a lot of violence, especially violence among young people in our city. So it's having consistent and well-resourced programming across, as well as parks that are aesthetically pleasing, have great equipment, shade, all the things to keep families and younger children happy when they're not in school.
Okay. Um, you ready for a little rapid fire?
I am.
These are fun.
I thought this was rapid fire.
No, rapid fire. What one word for the city of Jacksonville right now? How would you describe it?
Momentum.
Man, I love that. What's the best meal in Jacksonville? Doesn't have to be the best restaurant.
My gosh. I would say anything from Hawkers.
Hawkers is really good. I tell people I'm not this size on accident. Hawkers
Listen.
will mess me up. What's a Jacksonville neighborhood people should be paying more attention to?
Out east.
I agree.
I know you would. No, I was just kidding.
A book or person that shaped how you think about public service?
My grandfather.
Okay. You came here by way of Miami and Brooklyn. So
Mhm.
are you truly a Jags fan?
I am.
Are you hopeful?
I am.
You think they're going to win?
Absolutely.
Okay. What is something you've changed your mind about in the last 5 years?
Supposed to be rapid, right? I don't know. I'll pass.
Okay. Deal. Who's a local leader you admire who does not share your politics?
I don't know. That does not share my politics.
Are all Republicans bad?
No,
Okay.
absolutely not.
Is there anybody on council?
I love Councilman Matt Carlucci.
That's a great answer right there. If you have it your way, what does Jacksonville look like in 10 years?
It looks affordable.
Okay.
It looks like people have places to live.
Mhm.
It looks like beautiful parks. It looks like cultural diversity.
Okay. Besides the parks, what's your favorite thing to do in Jacksonville?
The beach.
Okay. What is by far and away, without a shadow of a doubt, the best podcast in Jacksonville?
PB Jax.
Thank you. Before I give you the floor to talk to the camera directly, the logistics for voting.
Mhm.
I believe we're past voter registration deadlines.
Yes.
Is this an election where people can vote by mail, or is this on site?
It's vote by mail. So yes, you're right. The voter registration deadline for this election passed on July 20th. Vote by mail ballots are starting to drop.
Okay.
So people should be receiving them if you've requested it. You have to request it every year. So if you have not or you forgot, then you will have to vote either during early voting, August 7th through the 16th, and then, or election day,
Okay.
August 18th.
If people want to be a part of the campaign, people want to volunteer, where can they find you?
Holderforjax.com is my website. And that's also my handles on social media for Instagram and Facebook.
Is that the same if anybody wants to reach out to ask you a question directly?
Yes. Or they can email me at holderforjax@gmail.com.
Okay. Lastly, we are going to give you the floor here. And what I'd like you to do is just look right there and tell the public why they should vote for you and why you should be the candidate for the at-large group seat of City Council.
Sure. So once again, my name is Moné Holder. I am your Democratic candidate for Jacksonville City Council at Large Group 1. I'm running because I believe that Jacksonville should be an affordable city. I believe that every resident deserves to feel safe in their neighborhoods. And I believe that our elected leaders should put people over politics. So again, vote me on August 18th as your person for Jacksonville City Council at Large Group 1.
All right. I always leave with a massive thank you, and I mean it from the bottom of my heart. I've done a lot of research on you. as you can tell. You didn't give me this information.
Appreciate it.
You have done so much freaking work for our city.
Thank you.
So much freaking work. Whether you win, whether you lose, you have done so much for our city. From the bottom of my heart, I'm a Jacksonville guy. I'm a Jacksonville podcast. Thank you so much. Thank you for everything you do. Thank you for what you continue to do. I do wish you the best of luck in the election. If you need anything from us, you let us know, okay?
Will do.
Thank you for being on the
Appreciate
show.
you.
Thank you.